Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Whoa!
What the heck happened there?
Yeah, this is what happens during live shows, right?
Yes, exactly.
Hey, LinkedIn family. Welcome to another very disjointed Coffee with Bob today. Um, Jumping off the weekly show here and actually introducing a new co-host that I have. My friend for the past 20 plus years, former
Yep,
neighbor.
right.
Our kids grew up together. Scott Moss and Scott and I have talked for years about doing a show together, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. We're hosting Donnie Boivin today, who's in the green room, and really looking forward to this talk. So, just really quick, Scott, just let's give a little introduction as to who you are, what you're doing, and what you're up to these days, and then we'll
All
let
right.
Donnie in.
Okay. So I'm Scott Moss, like Bob said. I have been retired for about 5 or 6 years now, but previously I owned my own business. I was a pediatric and adult echo tech, which is ultrasound of the heart. And I would be like a hired gun. I would go to different hospitals and fill in where they needed me. Some of the bigger hospitals, University of Wisconsin and U of I, University of Chicago, Rush Press St. Luke's, bigger facilities, because pediatric cardiology is usually made for bigger facilities for universities. So I spent a lot of time at those places. I kind of fell into my business because I had an offer that I couldn't refuse from University of Wisconsin. And I just decided to start my own business, and it kind of took off. So for 20 years, I did that on my own, and it worked out really well until my knees gave out.
Well, yeah, getting old sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And you get them both replaced, and then it's like, I can't push this machine anymore. So,
yeah.
but I still enjoy, looking into the business and everything of that nature. So
Yeah.
I have
Well,
a YouTube channel too that does
awesome.
that.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Scott and I have played with doing something like this for years. We talked about having a podcast and building a studio. We actually even looked into doing like local news cable shows at one point when there was still that thing out there. And
yeah,
it kind of never took off the ground. And we had just gotten together last weekend, and I said, dude, let's do this. Now,
right.
granted, we had both been drinking and we're a little high probably, but I thought it was a great idea. And I thought Donnie was the perfect guy to have on. And speaking of Donnie, let's bring him into the studio.
Okay.
Here we are.
What up, fellas?
The
Hey,
man,
Donnie.
the myth, the author, Donnie Boivin. Bovin. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So first you call me a cow.
Yeah.
I went through Marine Corps boot camp with this last name, so I've heard it butchered every way. It's actually Boivin, but no big deal. Seriously.
Boivin. You know what? And Scott, this is for your knowledge too. I just had Donnie on the Coffee with my short segment of Coffee with Bob for a brief introduction, and prior to that, I had picked up his book and got totally addicted to it. Not only was there you go.
There it is.
Yep. Not only did I get addicted to it, but I gifted it to my business partner, Dr. Irene Kopp, and because I believe in it. And I'll tell you, Donnie, it has improved our focus immensely in just the short time that we've been using it. And so much so that I gifted it to Scott.
Yeah, I was able to get about halfway through it today. I just got it this morning, so I got about halfway through it though. So I'm very impressed. It's very good
thanks,
stuff.
brother. Thank you.
I enjoyed it so far.
I can tell you, man, the feedback I've gotten on this book. I mean, I truthfully, I poured my heart and soul in this one, man. I really wanted this one to help as many people as possible, and the feedback has been insane, from the private messages to the reviews on Amazon. I mean, the volume of books that we've sold so far is crazy. This book is outsold all 4 other books I have combined by like 6-7 times.
Wow.
It's really cool. So kind of living the high life, the high of it, not the high life, the high of this book.
Yeah.
Maybe the high life too. We'll go with it. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, I think the reason it's doing so well, Donnie, at least this is my opinion, as Scott's a writer. I'm a writer. Scott's actually published a couple of books, fiction novels himself. I'm still working on my novel that I started probably about 20 years ago, but it's getting there.
Would you finish that damn thing already?
Yeah, I
Christ?
know. I'm working on it. But
I've been bugging him for years too to finish
Yeah,
it.
right.
It's really good what I read of it. So
what I like about your book is the brutal honesty of it, right? It's a no holds barred kind of business book, and I think it should be required business reading.
Oh, wow.
Right, because you share your ups, you share your downs, you talk about what's broken in the whole networking infrastructure, and you give some really good clarity of how it can be fixed. Talk about that a little bit.
We all grew up. I mean, well, most of us, we grew up in a world where, we worked for other people for a number of years, and then we jumped out, we launched our own business. And, for me, everybody was talking about be an entrepreneur, be a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool thing. I mean, for a while, being an entrepreneur was like the new MLM. So you can jump in, you can be a millionaire overnight and find freedom and all the good things along those lines. And hello, Irene. And nobody was actually sharing what it's like to really build a business.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I really wrote the book in a way that it was all. How'd you write the title? Can I cuss on this, Bob? We're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Scott's here to back me up, so it's good.
right, I'm all for it.
Right. But everybody shares the sunshine and rainbows, but they don't share the shit show of what it's actually like to build a business. I mean, building a business is the toughest thing I've ever done. And I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps and 20 years straight commission sales. And building a business is by far trumps anything else, is by the toughest thing I've ever done. So I wrote the book to speak directly to all the crap I wish I would have heard or would have been told as I was going through some of the darkest moments of my life building out a company. But nobody wants to share that stuff. They want to share all the good things of, I was a millionaire in 4 more years, or I buy my funnel, or whatever stupid shit you see out there nowadays. And so I think that really is hitting home for a lot of people, because not many people go to that aspect of it. But and it's really mentally hard to shift from that employee mindset to that of a actual business owner. And now I run a company, and now not only do I've got to deliver, but I've got to go sell, I've got to bill, I've got to do the accounting, I've got to do, everything in the business. And all that, and it's a pretty crazy thing to live through. So that was what I was really hoping to accomplish as I wrote all this out.
Yeah, and you did. It really is incredible, because it's sort of business / autobiography ish almost. And I love your approach to networking, because it's something that I kind of believe in as well too, right? Networking shouldn't be just about passing business cards.
For sure.
It shouldn't be about just immediately jumping in and trying to sell you something. I love how you term it creating champions. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I found, like most people, I think we all find networking because we're in some sort of sales slump. So we're looking for alternative ways to be introduced to potential clientele. And when I first got into networking, I was the worst. I mean, every bad mistake you can make in networking, I've made. To trying to sell the entire rooms and pitching and being the grease ball, I did it all. And what I just learned and grew up to understand over the years is that the more you can help others get where they want, the Zig Ziglar quote, help enough people get where they want, and you'll get everything you want. And that philosophy I've just carried into whatever thing I do. And so for me, networking is truly about building your champions. It's about coming up with a way and means to have a drove of people that you can serve on such a massive level that they might in turn want to do you, but it's not doing it to do this giver's gain type mentality. I'm not giving to gain shit. I'm giving because it's the right damn thing to do. I'm opening doors because it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
And when you can truly get somebody connected to the exact person they need to meet that will help them grow and potentially scale their business, magical things happen. And I'm even getting more and more focused on introductions over referrals at this point in time, because a referral typically leads to one transaction, one
Mhm.
deal, one conversation, but that right introduction could lead to thousands of deals, thousands of transactions, thousands of referrals. And when you can flip the philosophy about serving all the people around you, your champions show up. And I got a whole acronym in the book where I break down all the different levels of champions and who they are. But people want to be around people that are more than a circle of influence. A circle of influence knows everybody in town.
Mhm.
I never want to be the guy that just knew everybody in town. I wanted to be the guy in the town, which we call a GSD, which is a get shit done individual. I wanted to be the guy in town that everybody knew me, because I could get you to whoever you needed to get to. It's a
Mhm.
massive difference when you come at it from the perspective of be the person that everybody knows can connect you to the exact right people you need to meet.
Yeah, and I love that, because that's what on LinkedIn, on at least the LinkedIn platform. I don't speak about Facebook. I'm going to ask Scott about his thoughts on Facebook for networking and stuff like
It's
that.
crap
Just a second.
nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm still on it. I mean, I got to have a way to see the grandkids and stuff like that.
Right.
But I've always felt that my mission on LinkedIn has been to help other people connect, to help other people get to the right people. That's what Coffee with Bob is intended to be all about. That's what my meet and greet Mondays are always about, and that's what my friend and follow Fridays are about. To try and get people to connect. I think it's important. I spend very little time on LinkedIn talking about me. Right, I spend very little time having posts highlighting my professional life, my professional background. I don't think that's what I want to do on LinkedIn. I want to help people connect. I want to help people expand their horizons. And that's why I love that book so much.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
dude.
There's also one of the things that I enjoyed about the book. Like I said, I got about halfway through it, Donnie. So that was
It gets way better on the second half.
Well, don't trust me. I was enjoying the first half, so I'll be finishing the second half. But one of the things that I noticed is you do have an approach of, let's not be the scummy salesperson. Let's be the person who can actually connect with people by being a decent person and by being a person who they enjoy working with. And I found that was very important. I was in the medical field. So in the medical field, I worked with doctors, and doctors are notorious for being the worst people to work with because they have egos the size of Texas.
Yep.
And it's just very difficult sometimes. But I found out that the first thing you had to do was learn how to stand up for yourself.
Yep.
And then the second thing was to realize that, yeah, they need certain things, but if I can give that to them plus a little bit more, then they're happy. And if I keep them happy, then they're out of my face, which is what I want. And, because there were times when I came real close, to losing it on the doctor.
I'm sure.
I was a bouncer for years, and I tell you, it was difficult sometimes, but it's just one of those things that I liked about your book was this approach that you be a little bit better, be a little bit better than the next guy and be excited about what you're doing. It just seemed to work really well for me when I was, doing the same kind of thing when I was working with physicians all the time. So,
yeah, I think a lot of us grew up in the world of, the greaseball sales. I mean, we all grew up in the Glengarry, Glen Ross, always be closing crap and, all this hardcore stuff. And the times have shifted so much. And if you try any of that old school traditional sales stuff, you're just going to get your teeth kicked in. And I found for me that the louder I can go of teaching people that sales is just a conversation with an outcome, there's no need to try and close a deal. There's no need to try and beat the crap out of people, convince them, overcome objections, all that stuff. That if you can just become a human being, that good things happen and good conversations happen and lifelong relationships are established and built. And it's a cool perspective to come from. But nobody is teaching these new business owners how to sell. So they're really good at what they do. Some of them are the best in the world at what they do. But as soon as you mention or say, now they got to go sell, it's like, oh yeah, I don't do that. I'm not a salesperson.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
That's true. Especially this generation, they come out with great skills in the sense of either IT or whatever they come out with, and then they get into a situation where they decide to be on their own and contracting with different businesses, but they just don't have the skill to know how to make friends and actually be involved in a business, not from just selling things to them, but actually becoming friends with the owner, understanding what they need, being able to supply that for them without, like you said, being the scummy salesperson. You're just out there to make it work for them, and you'll do it.
But what I would tell you, though, that I love about this generation that's coming up behind me is that they are the most innovative people on the face of the earth.
Definitely.
They flat out, for even the somewhat success I found online, these guys rock it. I mean, they've been communicating online and via devices and computers since they were born, or all of us. That crap was all rolled out during our lives. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I remember my first freaking mobile phone was that big ass brick thing with the antenna on it.
Had the same thing.
So the fact that they can come at it from a different perspective, and the other thing that I really love about the generation coming up behind us, man, is these guys are starting businesses at 19, 20,
right,
21, 20. Dude, I was 40 years old before I even knew I could start a company.
Right.
That just was not I'm one step behind the baby boomers, and and the baby boomer generation was, you go get a job, work your butt off so you can send your kids to college. Well, I was Generation X, so we didn't do the college thing, but freaking, you still just went and got a job, worked for somebody else, and that's what you did for your journey. So I'm impressed that these guys, young as hell, are coming out and launching businesses, but they're still running into the same problem that the older generation is. You get into business and you have no idea what the hell you got to do.
I think that there's also a lot of, at least with me, there was a thought process that, my father was a salesman, and he was a good salesman, but he had to do all that ass kissing and shit like that all the time to try to get, one sale in or two sales in. And then he'd get to the point where he was being very successful at one business, and then they didn't want to pay him anymore, so they'd fire him.
Yep.
And he'd have to go out and start all over at another business. And that's how that generation was for salespeople. Now, I think a lot of them actually in that generation, though, thought of working as a 40-year deal for the same company. And that, they retire with their pension and life would be great. And we all know some of those didn't happen, pension funds that were spent in the wrong way and everything like that. But it's just not the same. This generation and I don't blame them. When I was kind of starting my own business, I had realized that a lot of the hospitals weren't really providing the retirement funds or anything of that nature. It was a simple 401k. And if, you wanted to put into it, great. We're not putting anything into it. But, the loyalty had been lost to a company. So I think that's one of the reasons why people in our generation started their own businesses, is because there was no need to be loyal to a company that wasn't treating you well anymore. And the ability to go out on your own and treat your employees the way you wanted to be treated was a big deal. And I kind of think that that's the difference between my dad's generation. He was, 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. I'm 60 years old, so Bob is like 85. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for putting that out there. I appreciate that.
He looks good.
Yeah, thanks for calling me on that. But
Yeah.
so Donnie, one of the things I wanted you to make sure we gave you time to explain. Let's talk about your champion networks, right? Talk about how these are forming in different areas, and how you're running them a little bit.
So in I'll tell you how they started because it's kind of a funny story, but I think I actually put it in the book too. But I had rented out a convention center and was going to do the inaugural Badass Business Summit in April of 20, and of course COVID hits and we can't do the summit. And we knew we had to help as many small business owners as we possibly could. Well, prior to launching my company in 2017, I had done a ton of networking, ran several networking organizations and groups. And, when I started my business, I never wanted to be associated with networking because people who teach networking are just broke people who can't sell.
Right.
And so I just never wanted to be roped into that particular category. So when I realized we were going to launch during COVID, networking groups, I didn't want to do it. And I remember sitting with my wife saying, babe, I'm going to do this, but I really don't want to. And she goes, why not? And I'm like, because I don't want to be associated with those people who can't sell, the people who found networking because they can't sell. She goes, you realize you're an idiot, don't you? And I said, how am I an idiot?
God, we've heard that before from our wives, right, Bob?
For sure. And I said, how am I an idiot? She goes, why don't you become the guy that changes how the world networks? Why don't you fix what everybody hates about networking? And I went, shit. And 7 days later, we launched our first chapter, and now it's the fastest growing networking organization on the planet, with 55 chapters across the U.S., 3 in Canada. We're opening up in Belfast, Ireland, London, Spain. I think Singapore now is the new one getting ready to open up. But we just fixed what most people hate about traditional networking, where, traditional networking is always laid out that you show up to a place, there's 30, 40 people. They get together, they do these things called 60-second commercials with dumbass on the end. Some idiot gets up and does a 10-minute presentation that nobody gives a damn about. And then they fabricate a whole bunch of supposed referrals. We just changed that entire philosophy where we bring real professionals together that understand that the people in that room are not the people you're trying to sell to. You're there to open doors for them. And we brought in all kinds of training. We changed it up, and we got it so dialed in and so right that people keep flocking to us, and we just keep getting going bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I found is things like the book, Fuck to Focus, when you pour into people and you help them where they want to go and you get your overall visions right, and I talk about your champion's vision in your book, when you get that right, man, other people want to come and help you build it because they want to be a part of that story. They want to be a part of that journey and help you tell it. And that's what's contributed to the most success, is not me just being out front and loud and talking about all the things. It's all the champions that are just into what we're doing and the style of things we're doing it, and them bringing all their people to the get table and talking about it and sharing the information. And that's what's been the most cool thing for me, is to watch the people blossom based off a vision I have, and they're helping that vision come to fruition. That's been a really cool thing.
Yeah, it really is. And what's amazing is that it's such a simple concept, right? It sort of just surprises me that someone didn't think of this sooner, that networking just didn't naturally grow into what you've developed. That's the kind of thing that amazes me the most.
I'm with you because, I thought of it, one night after, they shut down our summit. I'm laying in bed and went, oh, well, let's fix it, And I think that a lot of people have just fell into like how they live their life, and this is just the way it is. Versus exploring, could there be a better way? Could there be a successful way that this could work? And is this something that I continue? But most people, networking, you can look at it like working a job, right? You have some security in being in one place. Why explore? Why try something new when there's security of being comfortable and set in your ways? And I think, that plays to us very well because we tend to get a lot of small business owners that left corporate America. We tend to get a lot of entrepreneurs that, left corporate America to do their own thing. and we just built it specifically for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an amazing book. And Scott, I'm anxious for you to finish it and get your feedback on it. Now, from what you've read already, Scott, right? You're
Mhm.
more of a Facebook guy than I am, I think.
Yeah, I spend a lot more time on it because it's basically, now that I'm out of the loop and been retired for 5 years, it's kind of become my way of communicating with a lot of old friends from cardiology departments that I worked in, and also family members, people that I don't see all the time. It's kind of a nice way to connect with people. And I think it can be used business wise. It's just a matter of what are you promoting? How do you start a group? All that other stuff. I've never started a Facebook group, so I don't really know how to go about that. I know that there are things that I would like to do, like maybe get a group together for publishing books. I have a novel that's on Amazon that I would really like to be able to publish with a regular publisher and have people like in a network that would help me as a person trying to publish to understand what I need to do to make it a good presentation for the book.
Oh, good. I'm going to coach because I'm going to flip that on its head. You don't want to do that at all.
Okay, good.
So let me help you out.
All right.
So I have a Facebook group. It's got about 2,000 small business owners in there.
All right.
And it was one of the smartest things that I ever did early on in my business. And I stumbled into this. I don't want you to think that I had this epiphany. Oh my God, I'm gonna start a Facebook group. And what happened was I was early in the business and I had nobody around me that was business owners, entrepreneurs. So I had nobody to talk business with.
Okay.
So I thought that if I created a business group or a Facebook group, that I would bring in a bunch of business owners that I could bounce ideas off of and get information off of, and they would help me build my business. What happened was I was sharing the things that I was screwing up and failing at and not doing right. And instead of getting advice, people started asking me questions. They're like, well, what are you doing here? How'd you get this and do this? And I'm like, why the hell are they asking me? I'm the one screwing all this crap up. Why are they asking me for information? But they kept asking. And so I kept teaching what I was learning throughout the process. And that's where the entire final concept of creating your champions came from, because these people became my champions. Right.
Okay.
And with that, what I would tell you to do is, instead of creating a book publishing type of group, what's your book about? Like what genre? What?
Well, it's about a guy who has a terrible accident at work and is in a coma for 3 weeks.
So it's a fiction book.
But the thing is, it's fiction, but he ends up being able to see the dead after he comes out of the coma.
So it's still fiction.
It's
okay.
It's definitely fiction, no doubt about it.
Got it.
But it has its own genre in the sense of,
So
in the sense of supernatural stuff too,
What I would be more fascinated to you, instead of going, how do I get published by a traditional publisher? Because a traditional publisher is not going to do anything for you other than put a stamp in your book. You still got to do all the marketing. You still got to do all yourself. They're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what I would tell you that I'd be more interested in is starting a book or a group that just brought a bunch of fiction writers together. So you guys can share best practices of what self-publishing look like and the avenues in which you learn to market your book. Now you start bringing all these people in and have the same passion.
Yeah.
And they start talking about all the tricks and things that they've done. You keep compiling. And the cool thing is the next book you have come out, let's say you get 200 people in your group, you can go, hey guys, my book's fixing to come out. How about I give you an early copy of my book? You go read it. And if you like it, the day it launches, will you go buy the book for 99 cents, leave me a review, and then you automatically pump it up to a best-selling status. And then you guys can help each others get your books more exposure and kind of create this cool base of fiction writers that are doing nothing but supporting and helping each other out. That type of group will do absolutely amazing on Facebook.
Well, that sounds like a great idea. I think maybe I'll get my friend Bob over there to help me with that.
All right.
This is a perfect example, Scott, of what networking should be about, right?
Yeah.
So I promise you that Donnie and this is the way that you launched Fuck the Focus, right?
Yep.
Is just the way that you're talking about now, and it works. And that's the amazing thing about how you've kind of turned networking on its ear. So Donnie, tell everybody where can they find you? I've got your LinkedIn profile below, but how else can people find you and connect and get into your group?
Thanks, Gasper. I will give them a couple of cool things. So because it's your show, anybody who is watching this now or on replay, if they will go buy 10 of these books on Amazon, the paper book for $3.99, so that's $40, I'll give you an hour of my time, right? So just send me the receipt via private message that you bought 10 books. I'll sit down and I'll coach you through whatever you want, talk about through whatever you want on my dime, right? So $40 give you an hour of my time. But you can find me, of course, here on LinkedIn. The profile's up. DonnieBoivin.com. Simple, easy way. Just go there, and all my books are there. All the groups are there. Everything's there. You can find a lot of information on there. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, please send me a private message. I love connecting and talking to new people and helping as many freaking people as I can possibly, with whatever they're working on. If you want all the other social profiles and things, they're all on DonnieBoivin.com. It's the easiest way to get everything there. There you go.
There you go.
Hey, did you do that, Bob?
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. Whoever did that.
Technology is an amazing thing. Donnie, I want to thank you for being on the show again and for being on this extended conversation. I think it's going to help out a lot of people, and we'll get a lot on the replay as well too. I want to wish you a very happy 4th.
Same.
Especially because you served for us, and I thank you for that.
Oh, my honor.
At least here, you're in Texas, right?
Yep.
Here in Illinois, it's a little cloudy today, but it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. So Scott, happy 4th to you, and enjoy your sun and fun and family this weekend, especially. And Donnie, let's do this again. Actually, I'm going to be seeing you a little bit later this afternoon. Dr. Irene and I are going to meet with you.
Call. Yep.
And I'm looking forward to that as well too.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And guys, do me a favor. If you guys got any value out of this conversation whatsoever, do Bob and Scott a solid and tell other people to tune into this show. I can tell you, have my own podcast, man. It's a lot of work to build an audience, build a following. So tell other people to tune into the show, because you do this every week, right?
Well, it's been intermittent, but yeah, this is the week that I'm going to kick it off to make sure I do it every Friday.
Cool.
If I don't have a guest or not, it'll just be me and Scott probably.
Beautiful. But yeah, man, tell other people to tune into this, man. It's literally like walking up to these guys and giving them a virtual hug, because it really freaking, helps them do what they do and get their message out to the masses.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right, Donnie. Well, thank you again for being on Coffee with Bob. Remember, guys, I say this all the time. Every one of these interviews that I do, it takes one connection to change a life. And I promise you, Donnie is that one connection that is definitely going to change your life and possibly change the course of your business. So thank you again. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Bob, can I say one thing real quick?
No.
I was talking about my book. No. I was talking about my book. I just want to throw it out there what the name of it is. It's called Roadside. It's on Amazon. If you want to download it on your Kindle, you can do that. And I think you would like it. Anybody who picks it up will like the kind of supernatural touch that's in there. So I just wanted to throw that in there so maybe people will enjoy the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, I've read it. I have a copy. And actually, I have a signed copy.
Yes, you
do. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it is a very good book. Very good book. Good read.
Thank you.
Definitely a good read. So, all right, guys, thank you very much for being on Coffee with Bob, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
We'll see ya.